Okay, we have only two participants here in the class. So we'll start the lecture because, I guess the rest of them are not going to join. Or maybe they'll join later. So let's just begin. Today we are going to study in detail the socio-cognitive model of Van Dyke, because we discussed about the principles of critical discourse analysis in the previous class. That is, I've given you reading material if you have read that material. How Van Dyke's model is different from the rest of the model. We're going to discuss that today, and how this Van Dyke's model is focusing on different cognitive aspects of the language, cognitive aspects as such of what is happening in the mind of the person. So the basic difference so far that we have studied of Fairclough's model, the difference between Fairclough's model and Van Dyke's model, which is actually a cognitive approach towards discourse analysis, is where Fairclough's three-dimensional model is using the analysis of the discourse practice from the perspective of sociocultural practices and textual analysis. Here in Van Dyke's model, the difference is that you have to link uh, the discourse, you have to analyze the discourse, then you have to link it to the cognitive perspective of that. You can use any cognitive model, which is from cognitive linguistics or which is from psycholinguistics. You can use any cognitive model depending on what you are analyzing and how you think you can prove that, and then you have to link it to the society. So the only difference between the Fairclough's model and Van Dyke's approach is cognitive. Fairclough model mostly focuses on the text production and how it is, how it is understood in terms of society, or how it works in the society. And you have to separately describe and in detail look at the text as well, which will be kind of textual analysis that you do in the analysis of Fairclough model. However, in Van Dyke's model, you also look at the text as well, but that text has to be the stance that you take would be cognitive. What is discourse? Discourse is any text, any language which has some kind of context attached to it. So you link text or discourse with the context, but you look at it in the second step, you look at it from the cognitive perspective, applying different models. If you remember, we studied schemas. So how you understand certain concept in a society, because it is it has a certain mental model, right? Certain model that it follows. Maybe it could be schemas, or it maybe maybe it's some other model, maybe top down to bottom up approach, or different models. Because I believe you haven't studied cognitive linguistics or psycholinguistics. Can anyone please answer me if you have studied cognitive or sociolinguistics? Have you?
Yes, ma'am.
Who studied that? Is it Suhail?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, cognitive or psycholinguistics?
Ma'am, both.
Both?
Yes, ma'am. In master's courses, we
In
study in
mass.
detail what is. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then you might be aware of different models of, mental models, different mental models. So you have to apply those mental models when you are analyzing Van Dyke's model. So it's the same approach, you follow the same approach. There is power relationship, or maybe there is some social problem that you have identified, but you are analyzing. Let me give you example of gender discrimination. So if there's some kind of gender discrimination in the society, you analyze it, or you identify that in your society, you're writing a paper on that, or you're writing your thesis on that. You take that model, and you take that aspect, this problem that is of um, gender discrimination, and you look at the language of how we discriminate uh, based on gender. Let's take the example of Pashto. So in Pashto, we have assigned certain stereotypical roles uh, to uh, to the to men and to females. That is, khaza da korshe de, or for example, females are supposed to stay at home, or females are the ones who make homes, right? Or things like we say mummy daddy bacha hai, means a boy must not cry, or a boy must not weep, or a boy must not be weak. So these are the things that we have made in ours. They are linked with our society, because our society has certain aspects attached to it. So if you're analyzing these kind of terminologies or language, or maybe adverbs, maybe proverbs. So first thing that you need to do is to analyze the discourse. That is, in which context is it used? It's used for a male, when a male is saying something, or for example, when we say some sade de or sama khazada. So in which context is it used? So you have to link it to that. Why do we say it's he or she is just like female, or he or she is just like male? So why do we say these things? So first you have to link it with discourse. Then you have to apply any cognitive model to that, depending on which model you're using. I have shared a document with you all in the group, and I will go through it. The ones who have already studied cognitive and psycholinguistics, it will not be difficult for them to understand. However, the ones who haven't studied psycholinguistics and cognitive linguistics, it would be a bit difficult for them to understand and apply these mental models, because it is a complete study. If you don't know how to apply these models, then you won't be able to do the analysis of using Van Dyke's model. So if you can open that document, I've shared it with you all in the group. If you can open that document, you'll find mind, memory, and discourse processing. So if you are looking at something which has to do with, because obviously you have to link it with the society as well, and memory is something which is the part of society. Like, we learn things from our society. So if you want to use let's suppose we use schemas for that, or let's suppose we use some other model, which is types of memories, or we use top down, a bottom up, or top down approach. So we can use all these models, or all these approaches, to analyze whatever text, or whatever discourse, or whatever incident, or a speech, or whatever you're analyzing as a data. The first thing that you need to do when you're analyzing it from the cognitive perspective is to look into the cognitive processes. What is that you're analyzing? That is, are you analyzing perception? Are you analyzing something that is memory? Are you analyzing something which includes a planning process, or which includes interpretation or feelings? What is that you're analyzing? And based on that, you have to find an appropriate model in cognitive. linguistics or psycholinguistics, that is any mental model which fits your which fits your analysis, and then you'll analyze it. We all know that we learn things from our society, and it is kind of it's saved in our memory. It can be long term memory, it can be short term memory, right? So you have to look into the cognitive processes. You can analyze the cognitive structures through mental representation. Mental representation can be, for example, how a word is making sense, or how a word is making meaning. So for example, if in one sentence a word is, let's suppose, we you it's something is written and you're reading it. So you read it like, whether you have to read it as read, or whether you have to read as read. READ is the spelling of both read and read. But how do you know that it has to be pronounced the other way? This is something which is present in your, it is semantic memory that is present in your mind, and you know that this has to be pronounced in a certain way, though both spell the same way, but you still understand it. You understand irony, you understand sarcasm, because there is a certain cognitive process in your mind which can be represented in the form of mental representation. Or if someone is using um, metaphorical language, may it be uh, any kind of metaphor, not just the metaphors that we normally use, but the metaphors within the language as well. For instance, let's suppose when uh, it's like, we can say that everything was on fire. Now it may literally, or everyone was on fire. Obviously everyone is not literally on fire, but they're talking about the anger over here, like the anger issues that we have. So you can use metaphor cognitive model as well. So you can use that model for the analysis, where you can talk about target domain, and you can talk about source domain, and then their mapping, and then eventually link it to the society, which is the last step of the analysis in Van Dyke. So you can link it with the society as well in towards the end. Now, why is not everyone joining the class? It's like only two members, only two. Is it because they think that I'm going to share the recording? That's why?
Ma'am, maybe they are busy, or people like they were sharing yesterday, like they were having some internet issues. Maybe that will be the cause of they are not joining in.
Yeah, maybe, yes. Okay, are you both following? Like, you getting what I'm explaining?
Yes, ma'am, exactly.
Okay. So you can use you can use that model as well, like, for the analysis. Or you can talk about a short term memory and long term memory, because every function which works has to is linked with your working memory. Like, your working memory is all the memory that is in the current state, that is whatever you're doing right now. So you can link these memories with the other types of memories, that is episodic memory or autobiographical memory. So what is episodic memory? Episodic memory is like, for example, when I say, let's suppose you're analyzing a speech, and in a speech you're there's a term called, let's suppose, and we know what happened, and we know what the previous government did, right? Now the previous government, who the previous government was, right? So if in a speech you're analyzing it from the critical discourse analysis perspective, and you're analyzing it using Van Dyke's model, so then you link it with the previous memory, that it was that what would be the episodic memory, how will the audience perceive it? The audience will perceive it by knowing what was who was the previous government, and what were their achievements, or what were the problems that they were facing, depending on what is the discourse that is happening in the context. So if it's inaugural speech, then you have to look at how the previous government is criticized, and things like that. Or for example, let me give you example of Kandil's Baloch case. So if you're analyzing some speech from that, or that Maulana speech, so you can link it with the episodic memory or autobiographical memory. That is episodic memory would be when someone says something, it you are you go back to the same information or the same event that happened at that time. So you actually map it together with the memory, so you can use this long term, short term memory as well, or working memory, or autobiographical memory, or different kinds of memory that we have. Episodic memory, once you are analyzing something from the perspective of Van Dyke's model, then you have to study cognitive linguistics in detail and psycholinguistics in order to know what are the different types of models that you can use for analysis, right? Or you can also look at how there's the conversation or discourse is always two ways. That is, one is production and one is comprehension. So how it is, the way it was in like, one is understanding, interpretation, and one is production, as we studied in previous lectures as well. uh, See, this is the example. So when I say, as we studied in previous lecture, you are reminded of what I said in that time, or what I said, or when I said Kandil Baloch, so it is the episodic memory when you go back to the same incident that happened. So you actually, this is the episodic memory, you go exactly to that part of that episode in your brain, in your mind, where it is stored, and all the information which is related to that. Okay, so in your in the if you're looking at it from discourse production and comprehension perspective, then you can go for in working memory, that is the processing of how sounds are produced, how they make meaning, how these images are made in your mind, how these phonemes make sense, or for example, what is the syntactic structure, and how this syntactic structure makes sense in the mind of a person. That is, you can use conceptual blending theory for that. That is how in one sentence blend two three mental spaces together. So mental spaces are those spaces where certain elements of that information is stored, even of the meanings that you have. So you can look into the you can use that model as well, or you can use cognitive blending theory. You can use all these theories for the analysis, and link it to the text, or and then link it to the social meaning of that, because obviously in CDA we always look at how what is the problem, and the problem is always in the society. So how you link it with the society, how you link the meaning, though Fairclough also talks about social problem, cultural and social problems that we have, and you have to link it to the meaning of how it works in a society, and how it is a social problem within a society. But in Van Dyke's model, you only have to use cognitive aspect and then link it to the society. That's the difference there. So This is something that you can do. There other things that you can use in Van Dyke's model can be, for example, looking into grammar or lexicon, or different words. Lexicon is actually the all the there's a whole group of, or corpus you can say, of words which are there in your mind. And you might see that when we are there are different words which has similar meaning, but when we look at those words, uh, they are used in different ways in different contexts. So I can call someone bad, or I can call someone uh, worse, right? Depending on the context, how what are the choice of words that I'm using. So why have I chosen those words from the memory that I have? Why that one word, and why not any other word? So you can go for linguistic and discursive knowledge systems as well, that is which are present in your mind. uh, it can include the way you form a sentence, the type of the type of a sentence that you have formed, the choice of the words that you're using, that is rather than rather than saying one word, you're using the other word, right? If you remember, I talked to you about that news, and I shared those news videos with you as well, those YouTube links. If you look at the language, everyone was communicating the same news, but every news was communicated in a different way. So for example, if I'm using for Bilawal, if I'm using name Bilawal, or um, or I'm using Bilorani, both are the same words for the same person, but the choice of word from this discursive knowledge system that I'm using, and from the lexicon that I have chosen this one specific word, Bilorani or Bilawal, or or any other word. This means that I am conveying some kind of meaning, which is implied meaning, and you have to go into the into this mental process of cognitive process of this in the analysis. You have to look at it. Why have I used Billorani rather than Bilawal Bhutto? Or why have I used this specific term rather than the other? And you have to look at the meanings of that, and then you have to link it with to the knowledge system, that why have I chosen this one specific word, and how is it linked with our society, and why is it linked with our society? Why do we consider it bad, and how it is a social problem? That's how you do CDA from with this Van Dyke's model. Are you getting or not? Because you need to have a lot
Yes,
of
ma'am.
knowledge of, yes, you need to have a lot of knowledge of cognitive and psycholinguistics. So the ones who haven't studied it will have difficulty. So I'm giving you just overview of all these models, not the details, but overview of all these models. So I hope a little bit will be clear to you all. At least schemas you have studied, so um, it will not be that difficult to understand. Schemas you can also use in the analysis. You can use different models in the analysis. uh, you can also look at um, you can also look at the different kinds of the meanings that you have, or for example, you can look at the grammatical structure of that. Let's suppose someone is using this speech, or you can use how the pronouns are used and why the pronouns are used in a speech. So let's suppose we say we are analyzing Obama's speech, and in Obama's speech, Obama is continuous. This is very common with Obama's speech, that he uses we a lot. which is a pronoun. But we know it's a pronoun. But if we'd be doing analysis of this from Fairclough's model, then we will just randomly explain what is we and what kind of a pronoun is that, and it is used for creating a bond. That's it. But if we are using it, if we are using Van Dyke's model, then we are going to explain the mental model of we. What is the mental model of we? How is this we? Why is this we implied here? And why is this we um, is more meaningful than the other words? Because when we use we, it means that you can create those uh, mental schemas for in your analysis, and you can create those mental schemas of relationship, that when this word we is used, we has a mental model and a schema of not of subjectivity, because you're not only uh, including yourself in that, you, unlike I, but you're also including the other person in that as well. So whatever comes after that is actually in a sentence is actually used for both of the used for both of the mental schemas that you are employing, that you have employed in the model, right, in the schema. So you can make those diagrams, those round circle diagrams, in which you can mention that this we is used for the one who is speaking and the one who is interpreting it, and the interpreter is automatically included in whatever the person is saying. So if the interpreter is saying that we know that it's an issue, so the employment of we know that it's an issue, even though if the interpreter does not even believe that it's an issue, the uh, the the one who's speaking, right, is through this mental this mental scheme, is actually through this technique, this mental technique that he's using, which is unconsciously used by him or her. Employing we would mean that uh, the speaker is including the interpreter as well. So are you getting the difference of how you do it with Fairclough's model and how you'll do it with Van Dyke's model? So you will look at it from the perspective of cognitive. You look at how it works in the mind of the person. Why is it employed, and how it is employed from the mind of the person, and how it is interpreted by the person, and what is the schema and what is the model or the construction or the structure, cognitive structure, which is happening in the mind of the person. So that's how you analyze it. The analysis is like that. You can also look at the different context models as well, that how it is making meaning in a specific context. That is, if something is appropriate in a specific context or not. If you look at the different like speech, let's suppose these political shows, where you get to see a lot of aggression in the way they communicate their ideas about the other party, whether it is appropriate, whatever is said appropriate, or whatever is said is not appropriate. Who is saying it, and how is it communicated? So let me give you example of a Maulvi, right? A, a cleric who is saying anything would be. Is there some problem? Zaka is having problem. Okay. So if you are So if you are looking at it, let's suppose if a cleric is saying something in front of everyone, or if a teacher is saying something in front of anyone, or if a student is saying something in front of anyone, let me give you these three scenarios, and uh, let's see how the interpreter would feel. So depending on, if you're looking at the gender problem and linking it to the society, so let's suppose if a teacher is saying something in the class which is something that uh, that is not very appropriate, or something which a student or with both genders, that is male and female, cannot digest, it will be interpreted in a different way. If I am saying something as a female teacher, or if I am saying something as a male teacher, right, it would be different. If a male is standing here as a teacher, it would be different the way he is communicating ideas, or it would be different if a female teacher is communicating ideas. I'll give you a very simple example that our female teachers, if I even like if a student is like let's suppose is cheating in the examination hall, I may go and hit him or her on the head. Both of them will not mind it. Both of them will say nothing, right? Not hitting like hitting, but just a little tap, so that he or she may know that I have communicated my idea. Now, for me, as a female teacher, if I'm doing this, it is in our society, it is considered appropriate, right? The mental model is of the schema, and the schema is that um, the person who's doing it has has the is female, and if a female is even slightly female, and a female is also a teacher, not a student, uh, is slightly tapping on the head of a student because the student is cheating and he's a male student, the both of these has a social schema which seems appropriate. But if the same thing is done in the examination hall by a male teacher, and he goes and taps on the head of a female student, what do you think would be the outcome? How do you think would it be taken? Negative. A male teacher can go and tap on the head of a male student, but a male teacher cannot tap on the head of a female student. If he does, it's going to be considered inappropriate. If it is not come if it is not creating a lot of problems, still it is considered inappropriate. Why? Because that's how our society works, because that's how it is in our social cognition, in our social schemas. Social schemas are the information or the knowledge that we uh, keep in our mind, which are learned through the passage of time in our society, and you learn it from the society. It's not traditional learning, like you are not properly taught these things, but you learn it by observing, and slowly and gradually in any society that you're living, you learn it. So this may seem very odd if if a male teacher is doing that, and a female teacher can take a female student can take a negative meaning from that as well, and create a problem as well for the teacher. So though the intentions might not be bad, but this is how it works in a society, because it is uh, it's this social schema. Our social schemas work like that. So when you are analyzing it, let me give you the same example. If a student is doing with another student, so if a male is tapping on the head of a male student, it's fine, right? But if a male student is tapping on the head of a female student, then you have to look at the context, whether they both are comfortable in doing that or not. If not, if it's first day of university, and a male student is doing that to a female student, obviously it's going to create a huge fuss. So it's one simple act, but the one who's doing it, and the first point of the model, which is discourse in the context. So discourse is not just the discourse. I've told you in the very first lecture as well that it can be any act as well. So you is there some problem? Okay, no. So you look at the whole, you look at the whole scenario and you link it to the society, but by using models. You look at the models, not like mental models, not just simply looking at the text and linking it to the context and just linking it to the social meaning, as in Fairclough's model, which goes this way. But however, in Van Dyke's model, you have to replace this one point with the point of cognitive models. And there are different cognitive models depending on which aspect you're taking, whether you're taking the pragmatic aspect or you're taking the whichever aspect you're taking, you look at it from that perspective. You can also look at genres as well. The you can look at how they work, or how this specific speech genre is applied in a specific context, like why written, why not oral? Because written is more mild and is not very direct and is formal, and etc etc. So I hope it is clear to you all that how you analyze um, these models. Is it is it clear to you all? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, it is clear.
It's clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because yeah, because I cannot go into detail of all the models, because it's like वो क्या कहते हैं, दरिया को कूसे में बंद करना or something like that. So I cannot go into detail of that all, because it's like all cognitive linguistics and psycholinguistics. But a little bit I have explained it to you, and the document that I have shared with you, you can read it, and it's very easy. But if you have a little bit knowledge of cognitive or psycholinguistics, then it will be easy for you to analyze Van Dyke's model. Otherwise it's difficult. So you need to understand how this cognitive aspect work, or which model you can use, whether it's uh, a cognitive metaphor model, or whether it's uh, blending theory, or whether it's integration model, cognitive integration model. So you can use all these models, whether it's long-term, short-term memory and different types of it, episodic memory, autobiographical memory, or you're looking into schemas of that knowledge, schemas. You can look into schemas. You can use here and now model, here and now theory as well, in which you make models of the knowledge that you have. You can use spatial and temporal models. So you can use different models within this CDA Van Dyke's model, uh, through which you will analyze how this mental model work, or this whatever you are analyzing actually works. Clear?
ma'am, hello.
Yes.
Hello. Ma'am, I cannot concentrate. Please, some of the students, they are requesting me to get them in. They are, I think they have some problems. Faiza and
I have almost ended the class. Like now the class is going to end. I started at 11.
okay.
There were only two students, and no one was saying anything in the group, so I started the class. And yesterday you all were saying that you have some internet issue, so that's why. That's okay, I have recorded the lecture, I'm going to share it.
Okay, ma'am. That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm going to share it.
All right, ma'am.
Okay. Any question? Any question?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Then inshallah on Tuesday or Wednesday I'm going to share your marks, midterm marks, with you all in the group. And if you people think that group is not you know uh, okay, so then I'll share it on LMS, then you can see it over there, right? So have a good weekend, and I'm going to upload the assignment on Monday, because first I'll let you all complete your first assignment which you haven't completed.
Ma'am,
Yes.
excuse me.
Yes.
Ma'am, on the LMS, the extended date is not showing there. There is
Do you want me to
21st.
extend it there?
Yes, ma'am, because I want to update my assignment.
Over there.
That's why, because I submitted that yesterday, but it was
Mhm.
not that much outstanding. So I want to update them. Uh,
Okay.
so can you please
Yes, sure.
extend the date on the
Yes, yes,
LMS?
yes, yes. I will. I will. I will.
Okay,
I will
okay, thank
extend
you.
the date. Yes,
Right,
I will.
right.
Inshallah.
Thank you.
Okay, but be careful that I'm going to upload today's assignment on Monday, right? So you must be careful in which slot you are, uploading the assignment. You have to see it very clearly, which is the deadline and which assignment is that. So your previous assignment is week 12 assignment, and this week's assignment would be week 13 assignment.
Ma'am,
Yes.
okay, ma'am, found a new icon on the LMS, that is
I
update
can.
the assignment. And so I think it's better to update the assignment within due time.
Okay. Okay. I'll just extend the date of the previous
Okay,
assignment, and then you can upload the assignment, because some of the students haven't uploaded the assignment, so they can upload the assignment. But I
right,
don't want you to
right.
confuse both assignments.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Have a good day. Okay, Allah Hafiz.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, and don't forget to share the recording.
Don't worry, I'll I'll,
Thank you.
I'll share the recording. Okay, Allah
Thank you.
Hafiz.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. Allah Hafiz.